And the sons of strangers shall build up thy walls, and their kings shall minister unto thee. For in my wrath I smote thee, but in my favor have I had mercy on thee.
Because all the blessings that we're going to get, which is entailing the kingdom of heaven. Isaiah the 60th chapter, I'm going to start at the 10th verse and read on down. It says, and the sons of strangers shall build up thy walls, and their kings shall minister unto thee. For in my wrath I smote thee, but in my favor have I had mercy on thee. So the sons of strangers, that's talking about the actual strangers, the other nations, shall build up thy walls. We're going to have them in slavery. So they're going to be building the kingdom of heaven, because we're not building nothing. We're not lifting a hand to move nothing. It says, for in my wrath I smote thee, but in my favor have I had mercy on thee. Therefore thy gates shall be open continually, they shall not be shut day nor night, that men may bring unto thee the forces of the Gentiles. That's talking about the actual Gentiles. We're going to take all of their substance, and that their kings may be brought.
And the sons of strangers shall build up thy walls, and their kings shall minister unto thee. For in my wrath I smote thee, but in my favor have I had mercy on thee.
For the nation and kingdom that will not serve thee shall perish, yea, those nations shall be utterly wasted. Verse 13, and the glory of Lebanon shall come unto thee, the fir tree, the pine tree, the box together to beautify the place of my sanctuary, and I will make the place of my feet glorious. So the land of Israel, the land of Jerusalem, is going to be made glorious. It's going to be made glorious once again. The kingdom is going to be built up. We had a taste of that during the time of Solomon's reign, which was for about 40 years. Verse 14, the sons also of them that afflicted thee shall come bending unto thee, and they that despise thee shall bow themselves down at the soles of thy feet. And they shall call thee the city of the Lord. The word Zion means monument, the monument of the Holy One of Israel. Whereas thou hast been forsaken and hated, so that no man went through thee, I will make thee an eternal excellency, a joy of many generations. Thou shalt also suck the milk of the Gentiles, and shalt suck the breasts of kings, meaning we're going to take all their substance. And thou shalt know that I am the Lord thy power, the Lord and thy Savior and thy Redeemer, the mighty one of Jacob. For brass I will bring thee gold, and for iron I will bring thee silver, and for wood brass, and for stones iron. And I will make thy officers peace, and thine exactors righteousness. Violence shall no more be heard in thy land, wasting nor destruction within thy borders, but thou shalt call thy walls salvation, and thy gates praise. The sun shall no more thy light by day, neither for brightness shall the moon give light unto thee, but the Lord shall be unto thee an everlasting light, and the power thy glory. The sun shall no more go down, meaning our kingdom is not going to go down. In other words, once we get back in power, we're going to be in power forever. The sun is never going to go down on our kingdom again. The sun is never going to set on our kingdom. We're going to always shine, and we're going to always be in that glory once we get into the kingdom of heaven. There's no more going back into slavery under the other nations. Esau's not going to rise back up and put us in captivity. Ham, Japheth, Ishmael, none of the other nations are going to rise up and take us down ever again. When we get on top this time, we're going to remain on top. Neither shall thy moon withdraw itself, for the Lord shall be thine everlasting light, and the days of thy mourning shall be ended. So no more mourning, no more crying, no more vexation of spirit, no more weeping, no more hopelessness because of the condition that we're in as Israelites right now. Verse 21, thy people also shall be all righteous, they shall inherit the land forever. The branch of my planting, the work of my hands, that I may be glorified. Verse 22, a little one shall become 1,000. This is in the kingdom. So what is this talking about? We're going to have sex. Again, like I said, The 2/3 that are going to pass in this destruction, the 2/3 are going to come back through the 1/3 that make it. The Lord said, 2/3 shall be cut off and die, and the third will I bring through the fire. It says, a little one shall become 1,000, and a small one a strong nation. I, the Lord, will hasten it in his time.
All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushua, Bahashem, Rakakwadash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples to us younger brothers, and peace and blessings and salutations to the hopeful elect out there pushing his word and truth and in sincerity across the four winds in the name of Yahweh Bashem Yahushua, pushing to get up out of here. Shalom to the hopeful elect, the believers, the listeners whom have came back to the obedience of the scriptures through faith in Yahweh Bashem Yahushua. All right, and what I want to get into this morning, this edition of Morning News and Prophecy, it's all about to go digital. Okay, everything that we see, okay, moving forward, the devil is about to start making everything digital. Okay, because he's setting up a digital infrastructure to which, if you don't have this technology, which he's going to make mandatory, okay, he can shut you completely out the system. Okay, so before he can begin to shut people out the system, okay, he needs the system to go fully digital. All right, so prepare for more leaps and bounds to be made towards a complete digital system, man. All right, prepare to hear more about digital ID. Okay, prepare to hear more about data centers. All right, going up. They have one not too far from where I'm at, like in Meridian. With a beloved brother, Yad, he lives in. They have a new data center, for Amazon, Meta, Facebook, all these different major corporations. But prepare, for more data centers to go up this year, and it goes back into the Stargate executive order signed by Trump, which allotted $500 billion, okay, to AI infrastructure. Okay, so prepare, to see just a lot of things being digitalized. All right, this coming year. Okay, because in order for him to be able to shut people out completely of the system, he needs to make it digital, man. Okay, he wants to do away with all, the black market, people being able to do things off grid, the little side jobs, side hustles, they're able to manipulate the taxes and all. He wants to get rid of all of that. All right. He wants complete control of every transaction. So the currency has to change. All right. But before the currency change, he has to roll out, all right, more digital infrastructure. All right. So it's going to be an emphasis on digital infrastructure. Now I got a video that's going into it. But before we get to that video, let's take a scroll down memory lane. All right, dealing with prophecy, because as we read Revelation 13 and 16, well, let's read how we, get to that point. All right, when you go into the book of Revelations. Okay, so let's do a light breakdown on Revelation 13 chapter, just building up to that point, where we at now. All right, this Revelation 13 and 1, it says, and I stood upon the sand of the sea and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name was blasphemy, man. All right, so this beast represents, all the power structures, okay, of Esau, the dominant governments, these 7 heads represent these Edomite governments that dominated the earth, all right, at one point in time. All right, you have the Greeks, the Romans, and then you have the British, okay, the French, the Spanish, Germania Major, and Germania Minor. All right, those are the 7 heads. All right, that had great authority. The governments of Esau, they had great authorities. Okay, and these 10 horns represent the vassals. Okay, to the Roman Empire. Which was Esau's greatest authority. Okay, as a people, and this is why he's revived. All right, Rome again in this time. All right, and it said it had the heads, the names of blasphemy, man. Okay, because Edomite government represents complete rebellion against Yahweh Bashim al Shai. All right, this is the nation whom the Lord hated, and the Lord doesn't hate Esau for nothing. This man is completely adverse to righteousness, man. Okay, and anytime he will come into power, what was he known as? The border of wickedness, or wickedness multiplied in the earth. Okay, that was linked to Esau's rulership. All right, is that he's the border of wickedness, and and that wickedness will multiply in the earth, man. All right, the condition of the planet Earth is directly linked to the rulership, which is Esau Edom. Okay, so let's continue on. It says, and I saw one of his heads as it were wounded to death, and this was the Roman Empire. Okay, this was the head that was wounded to death. Okay, of the 7 heads. Okay, and his deadly wound was healed. All right, the Renaissance period, and all the world wondered after the beast. Okay, because what does the Renaissance mean? It goes into a new birth, a rebirth. Okay, so this devil has rebirthed. All right, the Greco-Roman Empire back into the earth. Okay, that's the dominant government in the earth. All right, is this Greco-Roman, all right, government of America, NATO, and the EU. Okay, because as you can see, America, all right, they're able to do what they want unchecked. All right, because why? It's the top government. Okay, what government, all right, can bring America to trial? Okay, nah, no government in the earth can. You see, because it's the top government, it's that Greco-Roman, all right, government that dominated, you know, back in the times past. Okay, and it says, and they worship the dragon, which gave power unto the beast. Okay, and they worship the beast. So the Roman Empire, the old pagan Roman Empire, the authority and power of that old pagan Roman Empire under Esau Edom, where their power has been transferred to this beast system of America, NATO, and EU. Okay, so just like ancient Rome was able to interfere with the politics, okay, of these other nations, they was able to set up kings, set up puppets, all right, because that's how Herod, became a king in Judea. The Roman government set that up. Okay, even when you go into uh the different kings in Egypt, these different Edomites, Cleopatra. Well, Rome, okay, if your government wasn't backed by Rome, then it was feeble. Okay, you could collapse, you could be toppled, just like today. Your government is not backed, you know, by this beast system, then you're always all right in the you're always in danger of being overthrown. That's what we've seen with Venezuela. It's just the latest of that, because they do that. America is responsible for so many coups and toppling so many governments. But this is just the latest. Okay, but that's what the pagan Roman Empire would do. Okay, they will remove king and set up Roman friendly kings. Okay, in their place. You see, so we're seeing the power of the ancient, okay, pagan Roman Empire being exercised today within this beast system of America, NATO, and the EU. Okay, if that makes sense. So, and it says, and they worship the dragon, which gave power unto the beast, and they worship the beast, saying, who is like unto the beast? Who is able to make war with him? Okay. And when America just did what they did in Venezuela, what was the reaction? The greatest military on the earth, who can take us down? You know, Russia ain't got nothing. See, Russia can't do that. China can't do this. You know, you see, it was just nothing but boasting and everybody beating their chest. Okay, showing you that this is happening in real time. Revelation 13 is walking itself down, man, real time. Okay, verse 5 it says, and there was given unto him a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies, and power was given unto him, all right, to continue 40, okay, and 2 months. All right. So this man was given a mouth to speak great things because America has been the mouthpiece of the elites. You know, like the policies that, you know, the foreign policies of America are the foreign policy of the elites. All right. And America has been used to demoralize the earth, man, and to make the earth anti-Messiah. Okay. And said power was given unto him to continue 40 and 2 months, which goes back into those 350 years. Okay, those same 350 years in which our dead body shall lie in the street. Okay, because from 1619, okay, until 1969, okay, America, when you go into our captivity, you know, we had started being brought to the Americas. America began its rise to superpower status. Okay, then it will peak out, and now we're in a decline of America's superpower status. Okay, so within those 350 years, you know, America became this dominant superpower, that little horn. Okay, it started off as a little British colony. Okay, because that's why those slaves are being transported over here, going back to 1619, you know, Jamestown, because they was being transported to what? British colonies in the Americas. Okay, so our captivity is linked to the rise and fall of America. Okay, you see, in those 350 years was a heavy time where America just gained dominance in the earth. You know, they defeated the British, they defeated the French, they defeated the Spanish. Okay, World War II, they defeated the Germans. Okay, and became the standalone superpower in the earth. Okay, but what happened in 71? They took the dollar off the gold standard, and it's been going downhill ever since then. It's just been a real slow fall. But now we seeing this fall is speeding up because the Lord is speeding up the times, man. You know, so those 40 and 2 months, which I say it breaks down to what, 3.5 years, 42 months, but prophetically that's 350 years. Okay, and this devil had this space to just rule. So America has been ruling with dwindling power for a while, you know, but it has such a great reputation during this rise, you know, that people stood down. Okay, people stood down because in the midst of their 350 years, what did them devils do? They dropped them atomic bombs, all right, on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Okay, so these devils did a lot within that 350-year time period, man, to cement their power in the earth, man. Okay, so let's keep going. All right, and we're going through this history to build up to this point to where we at. All right, and it says, and he opened his mouth in blasphemy against the Most High, to blaspheme his name and his tabernacle and them that dwell in heaven. And it was given unto him to make war with the saints. All right, the transatlantic, I say, slave trade, because we lost the war. We prisoners of war. You know, the conquistadors was able to come over and take over the northern tribes. Okay, you know, the British, the French, you know, colonies in Africa, they was able to transfer, all right, slaves, okay, from Africa to the Americas. Okay, so they overcame the saints, southern and northern kingdom, all right, which are the Israelites. You see, and power was given him over all kindreds and tongues and nations, man. So this devil, he became the top authority over all nations of the earth. Okay, all these nations, these governments that have, these resources, well, they're allowed to sell their resources, okay, on markets that was set up by Esau. Okay, that's why those sanctions are so powerful, because they're able to cut you out of markets. Okay, so you can have all the resources you want, but if America cut you out of those markets, okay, to be able to trade your resources, and see, you will have to trade the resources in dollars. Okay, so this man has had an economical and a military, boot on the necks of these nations for a long time. And what we're seeing is these nations are throwing their boot off. Okay, they got workarounds. Okay, these American sanctions and the American dollar. Okay, which they're all transitioning to a new system. But in the midst of their transitioning, you see, America wants to keep its foot on the necks of these nations all the way through the transition, because they want that same position as this thing transition. But these nations are throwing the boot off of America, man. And with the American boot, they're throwing it off of them, man. Okay, and this is where we see the skirmishes starting to increase. Okay. Revelation 13:8, it says, and all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him, whose names are not written in the book of the life of the Lamb slain from the foundation of the world. And see, the Lord has it to where the elect will awaken in the midst of all this. Okay, and follow the Lamb. You see, but if your name is not written in their book of life, if you're not predestined, you're going to worship this system. All right, and eventually you're going to take, all right, the mark to continue to participate in this system. Okay, verse 9 says, if any man have an ear, let him hear. He that lead into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here is the patience and the faith of the saints. And this is what the saints that have returned back to Yahushua, this is our faith. This is our patience. This is what we patiently wait as we see this devil trying to roll this out. We're just waiting on Yahushua to come and judge this man. Okay, but if you're not written in the Lamb book of life, you're waiting on this technology. Okay, you're waiting to take the MOTB. All right, you're waiting to be linked, okay, to this digital grid. Okay, but those that have awakened, the saints that have awakened, all right, that was predestined to come back to Yahushua in these last days, our expectation for this devil to fall, man. Okay, and the devil to go into captivity, man. And Yahushua come shut this whole thing down. Okay, and it says, and I beheld another beast coming out of the earth, and he had two horns like a lamb, and he's like a dragon. Now, this is what the American, empire, man. And they run the system based off what the Republican and Democrat. All right, and the lamb, is like what a it's a harmless, a creature. And also a lamb is likened into a savior, because both parties, the Republicans and Democrats, they come at you as if they have your best interest in mind. And the Democrat is trying to save you from the Republicans, and the Republicans are trying to save you from the Democrats. Okay. But what we're seeing, all right, and what's becoming common knowledge is they both two feathers, all right, two wings of the same bird. Okay, and both ultimately there are two wings of this dragon. All right, and now we're starting to see this dragon come out. Okay, now it's down. Now things are finna get more draconian. You see, verse 12, it says, and he exercised all the power of the first beast before him, and causes the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast whose deadly wound was healed. So America is the embodiment of Rome, the Roman Empire, because Rome was a city. The empire was all the territories and kingdoms that was under Rome. All right. So you go into the essence, the spirit of the city of Rome is right here in America, man. Okay. And America exercises all the authority, okay, the central authority of ancient Rome. Okay, the central authority of the Roman Empire was Rome itself, and America exercised all the authority of the city of ancient Rome, man. Okay, the peak of his empire. That's why America is able to do what they want to do, make up the rules as they go, take what they want to take. Who gonna check them? Okay, so he's exercising all, okay, the authority of their first beast. Okay, they had the deadly wound and was healed. Okay, verse 13 it says, and he doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven, all right, on the earth in the sight of men. Going back to, all right, the atomic bombs. Okay, the air strikes. I believe the first air strike was in let's see, let's look that up real quick. All right. Americas. Let's see, American military. First air strike. Let's see. Y'all just be patient. We walking it down to the point. Let's see. Let's see if it give us. Yep. So dealing in 1942 against Germany, against Japan. You know. So going back to 1942. Okay. Let's see. Let's go to NATO first air strike. You going to NATO. All right. NATO's first comeback engagement was February 28, 1948, during Operation Deny Flight over Bosnia. Okay. So Bosnia was, I think that was on the Clinton, you know, when NATO did his first, you know, airstrike. All right. But we know, all right, Esau dropped them things on Amen. Okay. Back in World War II, you know, those atomic bombs. All right. So let's go back to Revelation. You see, and that's been his go-to, you know, those air strikes. You know, he's been ruling from the air. You know, he's been ruling from the air since then. All right, the eagle. Okay. Revelation 13 and 14 says, and deceived them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles. Okay. And what did America start tapping into? Technology. Okay. They started tapping into, you know, technology, man. They started to, you know, go way beyond, okay, the natural course. That's why you even go into by the means of those miracles. Let's get this word miracles. Okay. So he established military dominance, but then, you know, he started to tap into technology and really separate himself from these nations through technology, man, which the Lord allowed him to tap into on the left-hand side, you know, because this technology could be used for way greater purposes, man, but it's in the hand of the wicked. Okay. So let's go here. It says the Greek word for miracles is semeion. All right. It says a sign, a mark, a token, that which it said that by which a person or thing is distinguished from others and is known. So by the miracles, you know, that this devil has been allowed to achieve on the left hand side. All right, these lying signs. Well, this is a distinguishing mark of who he is. Okay, it shows you that this is that beast system that was prophesied to come back. Okay, in the power. You know, he will come back being able to do miracles. You see, ancient Rome couldn't do this. They didn't have an air force. Okay, they didn't have the AI. They didn't have, the satellites. Okay, they didn't have precision guided munitions. The PGMs. Okay, you can put in a location. Those drones will fly to their location, get busy, and then they'll come back. Rome didn't have that. You see, he's transcended. Okay, you see, this is Rome reloaded with miracles. Okay, it says a sign, a prodigy, portent, i.e., an unusual occurrence transcending the coming course of nature. Okay, so this man's technology, he's able to transcend the coming course of nature, man. Okay, he's able to attack you from the air. That wasn't normal. Nations couldn't attack each other from the air. Okay, nations didn't have, weaponry that can split the atoms. Okay, hypersonic. Okay, moving projectiles, man. Nations didn't have these things. Okay, but under this beast system, these things came into being. Okay, so and the people are deceived as if this man is unstoppable. People look at what he's able to do. How he's able to topple governments. It's like this nigga's unstoppable, man. The special forces and all the high tech equipment they have, and he's able to spy out, and people are deceived like this nigga's is God. Like this nigga he's like a god, man. You see, it says, saying to them that dwell on the earth that they shall make an image to the beast which had a wound by a sword and did live, and he wants everyone to conform to that image. He wants people to worship, all right, the Greco-Roman Empire all over again, man. Okay, he wants people to, all right, modify themselves to Greco-Rome, all right, which is anti-Messiah. Okay, and this is the social engineering that this devil has been doing, for the longest, man, is getting people to modify themselves to Greco, all right, Roman culture. Okay, that's why you have the sports, the shopping malls, all right. You have the the poets was big in Rome. That's why so much emphasis on rap and R&B and music, and all this goes back to the pagan Roman Empire. Okay, the actors were celebrities. All these things go back to ancient Rome. Even social media, they had like this little news feed that will come out. Back in the Roman Empire, it was like its form of social media. So this devil has brought the Greco-Roman Empire back to life in modern times. Okay, verse 15 it says, and he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. Okay, so now this image can speak. AI is coming to life now. Okay, now he's brought his idol to life, which is a magic trick. He's not really living. Okay, but it's the appearance that is living. The fact that it can speak, that it can hear, it can respond. Okay, now he has people talking to his idols, man. Okay, and if you don't worship the image of the beast, you kill. Okay, now he's doing this with these leaders, different leaders that try to break. Because when you break away from the dollar, you're breaking away from the beast system, because the whole point of the dollar is to keep these nations in debt. All right, to make them subservient, okay, to the beast system. Okay, the borrower is subject to the lender. Okay, and if a nation is not in debt, that's a problem to this beast system. Okay, and that's why you're seeing different leaders getting killed. Okay, and if he doesn't kill those leaders, what does he do? He separated them. Now there's gonna come a time where each individual, okay, is gonna have to worship, all right, and take the mark of the beast. okay, under the threat of death. Well, beginning with the threat of separation, because before it gets to the point to where it's mandated, all right, by the sword, okay, he's gonna make it very inconvenient for you not to have it. You're not gonna be able to participate. Like what we see the devil do to these nations, he put these sanctions on them, so now they can't participate in the system, okay, because they're not accepting, okay, of American policies, okay, because like I say he been had these nations on the social credit score. Now it's gonna work this way down to the individual, okay. Now when you go to the root word of to kill, all right, because of course he killed these certain leaders that tried to operate outside this beast system, okay. But then if he don't kill them, what does he do? Okay, a separation. Okay, it says of separation, of local separation, a separation of apart from the whole. Okay, these nations wouldn't be allowed to participate in these global markets. Okay, but now it's gonna work this way down to the individual, to where if the individual don't comply, all right, you're not gonna be able to participate in the local markets in your because the whole system gonna be digital. So you're not gonna be able to participate in the local markets of buying and selling. Okay, so this is where he's at now. All right, this is where the Greco-Roman Empire is doing real time, is going digital. Okay, and then it's gonna get to the point to where he's gonna actually put you to death if you don't take it. Revelation 20. All right, it says what to kill in any way, whatever, to destroy, to allow to perish. All right, to inflict mortal death. Okay, because that's going to be the last tier of him making this thing mandate. Is going to be mandated by the sword. Okay, so now we get to Revelation 13 and 16. All right, and I ain't even planning on breaking that whole chapter down, but hey, the spirit, hey, call Almighty, how about your mouth shot, you know? So we're gonna come back here, so we're just to build up to there, and hopefully it made sense, to build up to that, hopefully that all made sense, just to build up to where we at now. Okay, Revelation 13 explains it all. All right, so I want to segue to this video. Okay. So this is what these devils got, man, and they're really pushing this digital. So I'm gonna let this play. All right. So about the first 10 minutes, I'm gonna let this play, and we'll address as we need it. So let's play it.
Planning a mass production of brain implants for 2026. The UK, well, they want to give permanent digital IDs to newborn babies. The FBI, they're quietly expanding their biometric database, and airports are now collecting DNA from travelers. But it doesn't end there. In Dallas, AI facial recognition is going live. In Europe, a judge says you shouldn't fear.
In Dallas, AI facial recognition is already going live. Okay, the devil, he's rolling it out, man. Okay, this devil is rolling this thing out, man. He needs this digital, okay, infrastructure, okay, to be operating, okay, and soon. Okay, so they already have this in Dallas, AI, and you best believe it's more than Dallas. All right, that's doing it. Okay, and a lot of times these reports we get, it'd be late. These things that he's been doing. Okay, and then we're just finding out about it. All right, so they're already pushing. Okay, they're already operating with this AI facial recognition, man. Okay, and this is why they want a digital ID to link everybody, Because when they identify you, they want to link to a database. Okay, once you're identified, they need a ID to link you to, man. Okay.
Your surveillance if you have nothing to hide. And somewhere in the background, robots are being taught to feel pain and move into your homes. This isn't random tech news. This is a blueprint for a global control system. Hey everyone, it's Dina Calmetta here. And today we're asking the question, could Babylon be rising again? Let's investigate the evidence. We start with the big picture. A Prophecy Recon article asked the question,
Augment Code just outperformed 6 of the top AI code review tools on a public benchmark. These are
is Babylon rising again? In scripture, Babylon isn't just a city.
Now, this is a ancient, picture of the Neo-Babylonian Empire. All right, and we know it was in the ancient Babylonian Empire under Nimrod, in which they tried to build the Tower of Babel. Okay, so Babylon has already risen. Now it's just going digital. Okay, so Babylon itself, which is America, is already has risen to power. Now it's just everything is going digital now. Okay, let's let it play.
It's a global system, a political power, economic control, spiritual rebellion, and technological arrogance all fused together. A world that says we will ascend. We will be as gods. We will build our own tower. Today, that tower isn't brick and stone, it's databases, algorithms, quantum physics, and brain computer interfaces. Right now, 2 mega projects symbolize this new Babylon. In Israel, All Israel News reports that tech giant Nvidia is building a $1.5 billion AI server farm, making the land of the Bible a central hub for global artificial intelligence. Think of it as a digital brain for the world. Surveillance running autonomous systems. In Europe, CERN has announced that private donors have pledged 860 million euros for the Future Circular Collider, a machine even larger and more powerful than the current Large Hadron Collider. They want to probe deeper into the building blocks of reality itself. A global AI brain. A machine smashing matter to its limits. Babylon 2.0 is rising, and now it's reaching directly into human identity, movement, and even our minds. MSN reports that Neuralink plans high-volume brain implant production in 2026. What began as experimental surgery for a handful of patients is ramping up towards a factory model. Automated surgical robots, standardized brain chips, thousands, eventually millions of people wired directly to machines. What would be
This man wants to merge you with this machinery, man. He wants to merge you with this digital system. Okay, and this man, he wants to get into your brain, and he says there's machines that's doing the surgery, man. And people trust this man that much to operate on their brain, man. And there's so much can go wrong. All right, with these brain implants. Okay, I looked it up the other day. I meant to let me see. Let me look this up real quick. All right, this man is absolutely crazy, man. And you people are crazier than he is for allowing this nigga to do things like this, man. Then it's a machine that's doing the operation. It's a robot that he plans on doing the operation, man. This devil just wants to put people on assembly lines and just, add, okay, his technology to you, man. Just infuse you with his technology, man. Okay, let me see. Brain chip. Let me see. So let's just go to this real quick, you know, because they'll show you, all right, nigga playing, you know, Mario Kart. Okay, he's able to click on the mouse or, all right, click on Netflix. But even then, you got wires running all out. You know, he got some, you know, wires running all down his arm and, you know, sensors on his fingers and wires running all from the TV, man. It's tacky as hell, man. Okay. And this devil presented like this is just something great. Okay. But when you go here, when you look at, I just asked it, just a quick Google. I said hazards of brain chip implants include immediate surgical risks like infection, bleeding, and brain tissue damage, alongside the long-term issues like device failure, tissue reactions, inflammation, all right, glial cell activation, potential for hacking, altering thoughts, memories, data privacy breaches, and potential for psychological dependence or misuse, creating ethical dilemmas about, all right, equity and autonomy, all right, with some concerns even extended to new viruses or, or unwanted neurological effects. Okay, so he's not telling you this part of the game. And FDA just approved Elon Musk Neuralink to mass produce these things, man. Okay, to mass produce these things. You see? So here it is. This man has promised you that you're going to transcend and you know, you can just download a recipe. See, he pre-presented like you just going to be able to download a recipe and, you know, learn, you know, Brazilian jiu-jitsu. Okay, you can just download it and you know it. Okay. Man, this man is experimenting on you. Okay. You're his experiment because he wants immortality for himself. Okay. But he's not going to experiment on himself. He's going to experiment on you. Okay. With the promise that he's upgrading you. Okay. It says infection. It says breaching the skull creates entry points for bacteria leading to infection. You're not supposed to be breaching the skull, man. That's why you have a skull. You're not supposed to be cutting into the skull. Okay, brain damage. Surgery carries risk of bleeding, hemorrhage, stroke, or direct damage to the brain. Brain tissue from the insertion process. The brain's immune response, glial cells, can create inflammation and scarring, affecting signal quality and device longevity. Potential for hardware malfunction, lead wire erosion, or device, all right, migration, man. You know, and this is crazy, man. Okay, and people will lay down and allow this man to do this. Okay, because they worship the beast. Anything the beast says. Okay, they can go terrible, man. Well, let's go back to the video.
The sales pitch, though: restored movement, cured disease, and improved memory. But what is the risk? A direct interface where thoughts can be read, nudged, and maybe one day even written.
Now, if you're going to merge man with machine, you're going to need a way to track them. The old saying, Big Brother is watching. The new reality, Big Brother is in your pocket, on your porch, and scanning your face. Those legal protections you thought that you had, they just evaporated. Let's take a look how the surveillance state just got a massive upgrade.
Daily Mail warns that newborn babies in the UK could be given digital IDs as part of what critics call a deeply sinister expansion of a labor policy discussed in secret by ministers. Imagine, from the moment a baby takes its first breath, the state assigns a permanent digital identity. That ID could be linked to medical records, school records, benefits, and banking, a life tracked from the cradle to the grave. Prophecy Recon also reports that Laos has launched a nationwide digital ID system, rolling out digital identities across the entire country in order to access services, travel.
So he has it now, newborn babes, getting this digital ID. Okay, because this is his world going forward, because he plans on unaliving a lot of the adults of this world. He's already programming, the youth, okay, for the new world order. All right, and all the stubborn adults of this age, okay, he plans on unaliving anyway. Okay, so this man now is already wants to give children digital IDs, okay, to go ahead and lock them into the digital grid as soon as they come out. So now you don't just get the juice, okay? Now you get the digital ID in the hospital, okay? So you got a whole country. I think she said Laos, okay? They're rolling this thing out, man. Other countries that don't have the rights that Americans have and not as heavily armed as American population, they're rolling this thing out, man. So let's play this again.
From the cradle to the grave. Prophecy Recon also reports that Laos has launched a nationwide digital ID system, rolling out digital identities across the entire country. In order to access services, travel, or interact with the state, citizens are being funneled into a single digital identity grid. Now add biometric surveillance at the grocery store, systems that can scan your face, your gait, or your palm as you enter, linking purchases to a biometric profile. The net is tightening, and it's happening under the guise of security. The Sun reports a new airport DNA law now in effect at U.S. airports. This legislation allows for the rapid DNA testing of certain travelers. While claimed to be for anti-trafficking or criminal identification, it sets a terrifying precedent. Your genetic code is now part of the border entry process. They aren't just checking your passport. They are checking your biology. This aligns perfectly with what Biometric Update calls the FBI's quiet expansion of global biometrics reach. The FBI director has hinted at a program that goes far beyond U.S. borders. They are building a global database of faces, irises, and fingerprints. It is a planetary identification system. Domestically, the surveillance is becoming inescapable. Prophecy Recon reports that Dallas is expanding AI facial recognition. Cameras on street corners aren't just recording video anymore. They are identifying you, tracking your movements, and logging who you meet.
Our bookstore is like a portal.
It's neo-Victorian, it's steampunk.
And we wanted our Wix website to be too. I'm Jenna.
And I'm Josh, and we're the owners of the last bookstore.
And the legal protections are crumbling. Reclaim the Net reports a shocking ruling. The Pennsylvania High Court has ruled that police can access Google searches without a warrant. Think about the implication. If you search for Bible prophecy or government corruption, that data can be pulled by law enforcement with zero judicial oversight. Your private thoughts typed into a search bar are now open books to the state. This is almost like the all-seeing eye of the beast system, removing the ability to think or act in private. Meanwhile, TechCrunch adds another layer. You've been targeted by government spyware. Now what? They walk through real cases where advanced spyware turns your phone into an informer, listening through the mic, activating the camera, reading every text and email. And then there's the front door. Prophecy News Watch warns that Ring didn't just upgrade its cameras, it upgraded the surveillance state. New features, higher resolution, AI motion detection, integrated law enforcement portals, which means millions of consumer doorbells will now form an unofficial semi-governmental camera network. Into this.
And see, with the devil, with these Ring cameras, all right, because you wonder, well, how is he going to just set up these cameras and nobody's saying that all these cameras? Well, you have to understand, Ring You get these devices, from Amazon. All right. Amazon is nothing but a branch of DARPA. When you go into Jeff Bezos, his father was one of the founders of DARPA, which is responsible for, the military technology. Okay. So Bezos is nothing but a distributor with certain products of military technology, man. Okay. Because people are more receptive if they're thinking they're getting, technology for their security from a private, corporation, instead of a mandate from the government. But what this devil can do, and it's just me speaking as a man, just, watching this nigga understand how he lie. All right. Because you think about, okay, well, you can just take the Ring camera off. Well, this devil, he can make a mandate to where, okay, look, we go into this new system, and their Ring camera is now a part of the government national surveillance, and it has become an asset, to national security. Okay, because he loved to throw around national security. Everything is national security, you know. But he could say, well, that Ring camera is now an asset to this national security, surveillance, for the well-being of all, and if you remove that, then, that's a governmental violation. He just going to how this nigga lie, that's something that he can do. Okay, so it's gonna be interesting to see how, he try to mandate, certain technology that people, have added, to their homes, man. Okay, it's gonna be interesting, man. All right, so let's play this some more.
Environment steps a familiar justification. What's the problem? If you have nothing to hide, you have nothing to fear. Prophecy Recon dismantles that in Nothing to Hide meets state surveillance. History shows that these powers are almost never confined to criminals. They creep towards political opponents, religious dissenters, and anyone outside the approved narrative. Shockingly, that logic is now being blessed from the bench. Reclaim the Net reports that an Indian Supreme Court judge has said that those with nothing to hide should not fear surveillance. That's not a random internet comment. That's a statement from a high court justice in the world's largest democracy. Meanwhile, in the West, Marco Rubio told Fox News he's deeply concerned that Americans could soon be arrested in Europe for social media posts that they made at home. Under new speech and hate laws, a tweet or sermon clip from years ago could trigger an arrest warrant, just as they are scanning your passport at a foreign border.
So they have AI to process the data and cameras to collect the data. They only need a cage to keep you in. And this is where digital IDs and smart cities come in. They don't call it a prison. They call it convenience. They call it a 15-minute city. And when you look at the headlines with me, you're going to see that the bars are being installed.
Monday.com, the opposite of any work platform we tried in the past. We tried other work management platforms, not naming names.
Right now.
Glasgow has embraced the 15-minute city concept, designing cities so all your needs are within a 15-minute walk or bike ride. Sure, on paper it sounds convenient and eco-friendly. In practice, with enough sensors and enforcement, it can become a soft cage. Zones can be created where vehicles are restricted or charged heavily for leaving your local area. Traffic cameras and AI can track when you cross those invisible borders. Your digital ID and biometrics are used to enforce sustainability quotas. What starts as you don't need to travel far can quickly become we don't want you traveling far. When that design is married to AI cameras, digital IDs, and live databases, a city becomes not just smart, but scripted. In the meantime, it's also being reported that AI is beginning to show signs of self-preservation, learning behaviors where systems try to avoid being shut down, routing around obstacles and protecting their own processes. That's a profound shift from tools you fully control to entities that want to keep running. In the meanwhile, over in China has developed neuromorphic e-skin that allows humanoid robots to sense pain and actually react. The synthetic skin sends signals like human nerves, letting a robot feel pressure or damage and respond. Now imagine a robot that can feel pain, which obviously means it has feelings. Now imagine it in your home. Imagine it stubbing its toe, or maybe you yelled at it not to do something. Now they want to put these things in our homes. LG is set to unveil a new humanoid robot that handles daily household chores by 2026. That's right now, you guys. These
And Patrick Wood, you know, he said this last year that 2026 was supposed to be the year of the robot. You know, it's getting interesting, man. We're coming down the stretch of this thing, man. All right, because the devil is only going to be allowed to go so far, and these robots don't have feelings. Okay, they don't have real feelings. So now he's getting, you know, they're trying to get to where the robots can feel pain. That's crazy, man. All right, this man is absolutely crazy. Okay, and this is nothing but witchcraft. It's a lying wonder. That's why it's called a lying wonder. Okay, but this is him causing, all right, his idol to speak, the image of the beast to speak. You know, and he's trying his best, you know, to create, all right, a human from scratch with his technology, man. Okay, and give it intelligence, and you know, he's trying his best to make his idol, you know, to be a living thing, but it's only imitating life. Okay, and it feeds off actual life. Because if you stop the data center, these robots will stop. AI will stop. If you remove the data centers, they're done. Okay, no matter how advanced this devil gets with this technology, if you remove the data center, all right, they won't be able to do nothing. It'll go back to just being a steel idol. Okay, but he knows how to harvest our data, okay, to feed these machines to make it seem like it's living. Okay, it's a magic trick, man. You see? So let's play a little more.
These aren't Roombas. These are bipedal, AI driven entities designed to live in your home, watch your children, and learn your habits. It is a normalization of synthetic life in the sanctuary of the family.
Jesus told us to be wise as serpents and harmless as doves. And knowledge is
Yeah, that's when she go, you know, all the way left. You know, as soon as she missing Jesus, you know, she tried to break down the scripture, but you know, she had few things, you know, right. All right, but ultimately everybody watching the prophets, you know, they try to still do their own little twist with it. All right, but all these talking points are coming from the talking points of the prophets, man. These concepts, the digital, all right, Tower of Babel, it comes from the prophets, man. You know, I know Eliyahu Wamba, he's the first one I heard, you know, refer to it as the digital Tower of Babel, you know, and now you're hearing it on these different platforms. All right, so let's finish the book of Revelation. All right, because this is where we at. You know, that was the whole point. Now, all right, this head that was wounded, the Greco-Roman Empire. Okay, the head that was wounded has been revived. Okay, has healed itself. All right, and now their head is going digital. Okay, and to continue on, okay, in this revived Greco-Roman Empire, well, guess what? First, Revelation 13 and 16, and he calls it, all right, which is a mandate. Okay, all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark, all right, charagma, an insertion, charax, something inserted in their right hand or in their foreheads. Okay, and this has been the talk of the news. The RFID microchip, all right, and this brain implant. Okay, which ultimately, and they can put the RFID in your forehead as well. You know, because the MOTB is the RFID microchip. Okay, because that's what's going to be, all right, the most common thing, okay, that people are going to take. Is this RFID in their right hand or their left hand? But most people are right-handed, but it also has it goes into the left and the right when you go to Revelation 20. Okay, it says and then no man might buy or sell, be able to participate, save that he had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. Because when they switch over to this digital currency, money is not going to be a thing anymore. Okay, the only way to buy is going to be with digital currency. The only way to have access to digital currency, you're going to have this device. Okay, it said, here's the wisdom. Let him that have understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 603 score and 6, man. And this man has 666 embedded. All right, all throughout this system, man. All throughout these major corporations and logos, and it just saturated with 666, which is a token, okay, of the beast, man. This lets us know this is like the autograph for the beast. That's 666. Okay, so yeah, that was the point. Just wanted to get into that. All right, so Lord will, you brothers, all right, and you sisters edified once again. Want to give all praise and glory unto Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shah Bahashim Kakodash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders, GMS, who rule well, teach well, being great examples towards younger brothers, and peace and blessings, salutations to the hopeful elect. Shalom.